That was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
That was like a shoulder jamming music.
Guys, I was going to say the exact same thing. I just felt like I was at a dance club for once.
Yeah. With the neon lights.
When was the last time? When was the last time you guys were at a dance club, though?
Oh,
God,
man.
February. Let's be honest. Between kids and COVID, yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. But welcome, everyone. This is awesome. This is the Moms in Media panel. I'm Stella Quisto, and I will be your host today. I'm also a reporter with City News Toronto, and I have this amazing kick-ass team with me. Some of these women I work with in the media, others I have met along the way. We are just waiting for one more in our team, but we're going to go on and we're going to do the introductions and everything. Just a little bit about me. So I am a reporter with City News Toronto. I'm also a mother of soon-to-be two. I have a 1.5-year-old Layla, and I also am expecting. So I am 7 months pregnant right now. Woo! So I've been pregnant during COVID as well. A very interesting experience. And I really feel for you first-time moms. But enough about me. Let's get on to the rest of the panel. We have an amazing panel. We have Mel, we have Natasha, we have Eva, we have Ivanka, and soon we will have Lisa, part of the crew as well. So we're going to go around. Let's introduce ourselves and maybe give a little takeaway. So we'll start off with Melanie Ng.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
is it because I'm on the top left?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, just want to say hey to everyone who has logged in for this. This is so exciting. That countdown was the most excitement I've seen in the last, 7 months, right? Pretty much. So I'm Melanie, and I'm so lucky. I look around this virtual room, and we've all worked together. All of these ladies, we've worked together. Ivanka and I have a podcast together, and the rest of us have worked together within City News or BT or 680, some sort of capacity. I'm the news anchor for Breakfast Television Toronto and BT Canada, and a reporter for City News Toronto. I'm also mom to a 4-year-old who is crazy. He's in junior kindergarten right now, and he's wild. You guys have all heard those stories. So very sad that he went to JK, but right now it's all about that balance. And there's a reason why I am where I am. Okay, I just want to show you guys something. I was trying to figure out the best room in the house to do this, and I figured this is the best one because this is perfectly illustrates life. You see a beautiful door, but what's behind the door? Oh yeah. This is like the damn brooms, and that's actually our lives right now, especially working in media where you see the hair and the makeup and all of this, but we are just doing it, just figuring it all out right now. We're kind of the same. We're exactly the same as everyone else, but we happen to have these bright lights around us. As for life itself, they asked us when we prepped for the show, this panel, to give a takeaway. And honestly, I was texting all of you saying, what's your takeaway? I don't know. What's your takeaway? I think the biggest thing for that I want people to understand, at least from where we're coming from my personal experience, is that it is not all rainbows. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and there's blood, sweat, and tears. There really is. And, I just think about women and mums and the challenges that we've all faced within our careers. And, there are times when I did not feel at my best. It's only probably in the last few years that I felt like I've hit where I really wanted to hit. I was not as confident as I thought. And what really got me to where I am are women. It's honestly women. And you talk about women cheerleaders, and I thought about this, and I'm a very visual person, and I wish I could draw it for you, but I'm horrible because it would just be stick people. But you always hear about women cheerleaders, right? You need women cheerleaders, and I'm thankful to say all of you are cheerleaders, and I am cheerleaders for you. But then I thought about cheerleaders, and you think about them on the sidelines, right? And then I went, no, we need to be the women that are doing actual physical lifting. All the ones at the bottom that are standing at the bottom, and they're doing this thing, and they're lifting you up when you are damn wobbly and you're on one leg trying to balance and make it all work. This is what all those foundation cheerleaders are like. And so I was thinking about that for women, regardless of your industry, but definitely in this one, which is very male dominated. Ivanka, I know you'll speak to that with women in sports, but I'm honored and so happy to say the only reason I'm finding where I am today is because of women. So that is I don't know. Is that a good takeaway? Does that feel like a good takeaway?
Can Mel do my intro? Can you do mine? Because just add in that I have 2 boys. That's it. No
Yeah,
family.
no, but that's, I mean, I just wanted to give a shout out to all of you. And so thank you so much for everyone who's joining in this. Yeah, be the foundation for the one-legged wobble.
I like it. I like it. Tash, what do you got for us?
Okay, well, first of all, let me say, I was a cheerleader in grade 9. It's called a base. The people at the bottom are the base. That is not a foundation, it's the base. Right.
Still a foundation.
But foundation base, I think the takeaway, because you're right, like we want to give you the takeaway now at the beginning, just in case you don't make through to the end because you've got a dirty diaper to change or like meals to make or what have you. So I really wanted to say that we don't know what we're doing. And when I say we, I mean everybody, because the world is not stagnant. So it's not like the playbook, and that playbook lasts for centuries and centuries, right? Every day, look how much has changed since March. Forget about even what's changed in the last decade with social media. We're dealing with stuff that our parents never had to deal with. So we're constantly learning, especially with social media too. Like I'm big on social media. I might have gone viral on TikTok. I'm just bragging, maybe a little bit. I know, right? That one. But what does that mean? I don't know. I just did a fun video. So I mean, sometimes everything doesn't have to have a deep meaning. Sometimes you just do things for fun. Sometimes you are going to make mistakes. You're going to embarrass your kids. And I've done that a lot because of the social media. So I'm trying to find balance as well. But just the minute I find balance, because I am a Libra, it goes off balance again. So it's like that balance doesn't last very long. And just echoing Mel's sentence about, how those women uplift women. For me, I found that it's not only women, but this core group of friends. I would say just make sure that the people surrounding you is that that's going to inspire you and always push you to do better and be your best, right? I can say that for sure, that I've got kind of 2 core groups. A couple of them are in the room right here. and then I've got another core group. So I would just say, again, surround yourself with that positivity all day, every day.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. You know what? There is no playbook on motherhood, and we all go through the exact same thing. So yeah, you're totally right. And we're gonna bring in Lisa right now. I'm getting we have a private chat going on the side, and we have Lisa. Yay!
Of course, the tech expert had to have the most tech issues.
Oh, welcome, Lisa. We're just going through everyone. We're just you're right at the beginning anyway. So we're just going through every single person, what they do, and what their takeaway is.
Oh, okay.
So welcome. I hope you got your wine with you and you're ready to go.
Close.
Okay. And Eva is next. So Eva, introduce yourself and your takeaway.
So I'm Eva Fragiscatos. I work at 680 News. I work sometimes at Breakfast Television, and I've done everything in between reporting. I'm mostly a traffic reporter for the morning show now at 680, but I'm currently on mat leave. I have 3 girls because crazy like that. One is 6 years old. She's in school right now. And then I have a 3-year-old who's home with me and a 2-month-old. So it's been very interesting. I worked from home until I had my new baby, with having the toddler at home as well. And that was a whole new ball game. But it was very different. And I feel like my takeaway throughout, especially during COVID, is that having mom friends who know what it's like to be a mom and to also be a woman and a person has helped me so much, just to get feedback from other moms and to hear what other moms have to say, so that I don't feel like I'm the only one dealing with, babies who don't sleep, or going to school, like what masks to pack for them, and all the new things that we had to go through. Having just other people that understood what I was going through, honestly, it made a world of difference. And I like having mom friends that go to the same school as my kids, because they give you information about your kids that maybe you don't know about. So that's been helpful, because yesterday I received a letter that my daughter gave her friend, and it said, "Apollo is my boyfriend." So now I'm, in a new age, and she's 6. So thank you to my mom friend who sent me the note my daughter gave her friend. Okay, so that's, well, this is what my life is
Who
like.
is Apollo? We want to know who Apollo is.
Apollo is also in my daughter's Greek school class, and I guess Apollo is her friend. So we had a great chat this morning before she went to school, and I said, please don't write any more letters that say Apollo is your boyfriend, because you're only 6 and you can have a friend. He can be a boy, but you cannot have a boyfriend. So yeah, that's my takeaway, is that life's hard and you need other women to help you around it.
Yep. Cheers to that. Ivanka, you're next.
Oh my gosh, how do I follow up? Okay, so my name is Ivanka and I work at Sportsnet. I am the anchor, but currently I am on maternity leave because I delivered a pandemic baby, as it sounds like Eva did, and Stella will be going to as well. So my baby, my son Blake, was born March 30th, a week early, because I did not want him occupying me anymore. And I was so nervous about what was happening with the state of our hospitals, because we were at such an uncertain time, at the end of March with COVID. So I have I guess almost 7-month-old now named Blake, and a 3.5-month-old son, George. So when lockdown happened, we really locked down, and all these plans that I had to have help and a night nurse and a nanny and, my mom and my mother-in-law totally got shut down. So it was our little family of 4 just together all the time. And so, I have learned over the past 7 months or so that I'm stronger than I thought I was, and I can handle a lot more than I thought I could, because I've had to do it on my own without a lot of help. So that's been a big realization for me. And also kind of what Eva said about leaning on my mom friends. I've really benefited from their expertise and their advice. A lot of my friends have older kids, so I can lean on them for, okay, now my son George is going through this phase. What do I do? Or have you heard of this before? Why does he like to pull his pants down in the middle of, the street? Yada, yada, yada. And so I've learned that I'm leaning on my mom friends a lot more these days, but that, I can do more than I thought I could handle. And sometimes you're stronger than you realize, I guess, would be my takeaway from the past 7 months. But I'm happy to have a nanny back, so I can lean on her a little bit more. But yeah, that's my story. Did I cover everything?
I think so. That was great. You know what? It's true. Us women, we do take on a lot, and we are stronger than we think. So thanks for that, Ivanka. And last but certainly not least, we got Lisa in the group. Lisa, tell us a bit about yourself and your takeaway.
First off, I'm so happy to be sharing a panel with all of you lovely ladies. So nice to meet all of you, and to all the new moms and soon to be new moms, Stella. Congratulations to all of you. I am Lisa Chang. Hi to everybody. I am a former host at TSC, so no longer there, but I am still very much a part of the Rogers family. I'm the resident tech expert on CityLine, and also on breakfast television as a tech expert there as well. I've joined other networks also across Canada, so sharing great technology information across the board to show people how technology can really add efficiency to your lives, and empowering people through embracing technology as well, while also educating on sort of the danger zones of technology as well. So that's me in a nutshell. I've had a 20-year career history in technology. That's before I joined the world of media. And I guess the next question is, what is the takeaway, right? Yes. Of the times that we're in? Okay. So during COVID specifically, and I think everybody kind of touched on this, I learned definitely the power of the mom in the household. I realized that in many cases, we are the neck and we support the head turning everywhere. So where the rest of the family is sort of that head, we as moms, we take all that pressure, all of that heaviness. Now, in saying that, what I realized is that time is so precious. I lost my dad 3 years ago in October, and in losing him at the tender age of 67 very suddenly, that obviously opened my eyes to the fact that time is not guaranteed. And in that, we need to really make sure that quality is more important than quantity. And so when COVID happened, that had me do a lot of introspection. I'm somebody that is very big on self-reflection and growth. But when COVID happened, it made me take a strong look at where I'm spending my time and why I'm spending my time doing the things that I'm doing every day. And so when you boil it all down and you realize that your why often surrounds your family, for me, that became a bigger focus than ever before, and also realizing that what I have is actually enough. So that, I think, was a huge takeaway, is how to be grateful every day for the things that we have. And it's the small things that we have. The fact that we can shower every day, the fact that we have food to eat, the fact that we have our health and we have each other, and that I can watch my son, who is now in SK, and I'm happy to know that he's not the only one pulling his pants down in the middle of the street, that, we have enough and we're blessed.
That was awesome. Thanks, girls, for that input. So as you can see, this is our kick-ass panel of media moms, and we're going to go through a bunch of questions. So I have a bunch of questions here, but I just want to let you ladies know that join in anytime. We want to make this very conversational. We work with each other, so we all pretty much know each other. So we're going to make this very conversational. And if anybody has any questions during the panel, just feel free to ask us anything. So I'm going to start off with the topic of COVID, because it seems like all of us have experienced different things during COVID. I'm going to maybe gear this question towards Eva and Ivanka, because you guys had babies during the pandemic. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, like the struggle of being pregnant during COVID. And what's interesting is that what I'm noticing is I'm going to a lot of appointments and things like that, and I can't bring my significant other with me, my husband with me. And if this is my second child, but for a lot of people, this is their first child. And so they don't get all those experiences. And I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way, but maybe just talk a little bit about your experience with COVID and being pregnant.
Well, I find that exactly what you said, Stella. This wasn't my first time. It was my third. So for me, going to these appointments alone, I was okay with all of that. But it was different, right? Like most of my appointments were virtual. I didn't see my OB until, oh my gosh, like maybe 4 or 5 months. So that was different. So it makes you worry a little bit more, because you're not hearing the heartbeat. You're not doing all those checks that you usually do. So that part was really hard. And then also the giving birth in the hospital, only allowed to have one person with you. That was fine. It was better than nobody with me. But again, you're contained to your room. So I could not leave. So when I was getting ready to go into labor and whatnot, like I just had my room to walk around in, and one nurse and I had a mask on. Like I have a photo of myself with my mask on in the bed holding my newborn. And I feel like that image is just it's just different. But had a healthy baby, everything went well. So I can't really complain too much about that. But again, it's that whole after your postpartum too, not letting people come and see the baby. And if you have a large family and people have opinions about this and that, so it was difficult to say, you can't come over because it's not safe. I had my father come, my mom actually took a COVID test so that she could stay and come and help me for a week after. And then when my dad came to pick her up, he works in a restaurant, so he could not see the baby. I'm like, sorry, you can't get too close. So he had a mask on, and he just looked at her kind of through the window. And, it's a little sad, but at least he still was blessed enough to see her. And I'm happy that he's around to see her. So there's good and bad. I feel like COVID just made you look at like the positives and the negatives. One of the positives being I had to work from home, so I didn't actually have to commute 45 minutes a day while pregnant. That was a positive. And then, there are a lot of negatives, but I almost felt like it outweighed the pros and cons. There was a little bit of both. So I can't say it was all bad. It was just very different. I don't know if you felt the same way, Ivanka. It was just seemed different for me, but I'm still thankful that we had the help of doctors and hospitals, and, we didn't really have to go through it all alone.
Things moved so fast in that month of March for me. I remember talking to someone on International Women's Day, and she was telling me she had delivered one of her children during H1N1 and how she wore a mask. And I was thinking, and this was what, March 7th, March 8th? That's what International Women's Day. And I was thinking, really? You have to deliver a mask? Well, we'll never get to that point. And, you know, fast forward, every week I would go for my hospital appointment, because at that point, you know, when you're in the final, 4 or 5 weeks, you're going weekly to see your OB. It was, no, you don't need to wear a mask. The next week, they were wearing masks. I was like, why are you now all of a sudden wearing masks? And then the following week, it was like, we have a special, you know, entrance you have to go through. And now you have to wear a mask. Like, things were just changing so quickly in that month of March. I was working March 11th. And I will always remember this day because it was a Wednesday, and it's the day that the NBA shut down. And I still had at least 2 more weeks left of work before I was supposed to go on my scheduled maternity leave. And NBA got shut down, and there was a domino effect of Nick Nurse had a party about his foundation. And then there was another, I think Fred VanVleet, the Raptors, they had a party, and people from Sportsnet were there getting, you know, clips. And then they came back to the studio, and there was so much unknown that it was like, go home, Ivanka. We don't know what's happening, and it's safer if you just go home. And March 11th was my last day of work, because who knew? Was I at risk? Was the baby at risk at that point? And so I started my mat leave 2 weeks earlier than expected. And I was really frightened. I know I talked to Mel about this, a number of times, because different hospitals in the city, in Toronto at least, had different rules of, if you could bring your partner, if you could bring your spouse, how long they could stay. So I just wanted to get into my hospital when we were still in that window where my husband could stay with me. As long as he didn't leave the room, he could go to get some junk food from the vending machine, but he had to stay, no in and out and privileges. And I was fine with that. But if it was my first, I don't know about any of you ladies, but it was hard taking care of myself, getting up to go to the washroom by myself, let alone my son was 9 pounds, getting up to take care of, that Bubba. Oh my gosh. So I'm so thankful that my hospital still had allowed that, and that my husband was able to be with me. And my heart went out to all these first-time moms that couldn't have that support. So things were changing so quickly. And, when we went for that first doctor's appointment, when we had first come out of the hospital, that was so scary because he had to get those appointments. We didn't even have the newborn hearing screen test for my son because they had shut down. So many things were just shut down, and we just had to survive in our little house, in our bubble. So it was scary. One positive, Eva mentioned some positives about not having to commute during the pregnancy because of work. One positive was the sports world had shut down, so I was not missing anything, which I know for me caused a lot of anxiety when I was on my first maternity leave, that I was missing out on sports and missing out on work and getting behind, so to speak. But the sports world shut down, so the positive for me was I was really enjoying my time with my family, and I was not stressed about looking haggard and awful because no one could come visit me, and I didn't have to do a Zoom call, or I could put on many filters. So
not possible.
That was
you would never look haggard. Not possible.
God, you wouldn't believe. Anyways, I shudder when I think of those days. Anyway, so yeah, it was. So those are the positives, but it was just so scary. And I still remember, I think I said this to Mel, that when we went to the hospital and they had to do all the checks, take your temperature and ask you a series of questions, as I know they still do. And the woman said to me in a full face mask, she said, "Good luck," as I was walking away from her. And, and in normal circumstances, someone says good luck, they're like, okay, cool, thanks. But just the way she said it, I was just filled with this oh my God, what do you mean? Why do I need luck? What's going to happen? What could go wrong? And that was really, I started crying when I heard that. And I was really scared. Everything, thank God, has worked out, but it was such scary times.
Yeah, I can imagine. It just feels so weird going into a hospital and not having even just someone there to talk to all this about your significant other, or even if you don't have that, it's just these little things, having a baby shower or whatever, all these little highlights, these moments. And for me, on my first child, I have this massive Italian family. So of course, 82,000 people were waiting in the waiting room as they were going to announce the birth of my child. So we're not going to have that this time, obviously. So things will change. So I think we're going to have to do probably a Zoom call or something like that.
I think you might like that better. You might like the privacy of the not 82,000 people coming to visit you this time.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you just had an episiotomy and you're like, oh God, I can't even walk. And then like everyone's like, can I hold a baby? Can I hold a baby? So yeah, it'll be definitely a different experience. But speaking on this topic of COVID, we have 3 other women that are in this panel right now who have children that are probably in school. And let's talk a little bit about how COVID has impacted you and how it is to be dealing with this and being a mom and working and all this good stuff. So who wants to go first?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, whoever you like.
Okay, I'll go. I was really short. It was the Friday before break, right? I forgot to mention off the top, I have an 11-year-old son and a 12-year-old girl. So on the Friday, they're like, yep, after March break, you're not coming back. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's fine. It's March break. I can handle 5 days, no problem. We'll see what happens after. Again, they're at the age 11, 12 where I can't leave them home for a little bit, because that week during March break, I was supposed to go in for breakfast television. If my kids were 4 and 5, I can't leave them home alone for a few hours, right? So I'm very fortunate that they were able to stay home alone, because like Ivanka was saying, the moms, the mom-in-laws, the babysitters, the nannies, they can't come anymore. So what would I have done? I think because of the hours that work in television, I would have had a really difficult time doing my job, because at that point, for the first half of the week, they hadn't had us working at home yet. So I still had to go in. It wasn't until the Wednesday that the technology was all set up that we could now broadcast City News breakfast television from home. And 680 radio, just like Eva, I do from home anyway. But that week was a TV week. So I was like, what do I do? Okay. And it was very weird for breakfast television. You're out on the street at 5:30 in the morning. So you're like, well, it's fine, nobody's around. But this is the time when we were still wiping down all of our groceries, guys. We didn't know what COVID was. We were all paranoid and all like, don't even be around people. Don't even go in the elevator in condo. So, it was this high anxiety moment, right? So I get through March break. That's fine. The second half, I managed to broadcast television from home, from my balcony. Did that for a few weeks. And then, the homeschooling, right, kicks in. So now I'm like, oh crap. So wait, you're serious? They're really not going back to school? I thought this was like 8 days, 10 days. I was like, they're for real. So I'm like, okay, let's look at all this together, made sure all their devices were good. And it all came down to routine and making sure like they get up and do get on their school routine. But at the same time, I'm still trying to work. So that was the how do you, that's why, and that's where this kicks in, right? So anyway, not at 10 in the morning. It may have, but whatever. But on top of that now, with COVID, you're talking about, I'm divorced. And so now we're talking about, well, how do we deal with them doing the visitation, right? Because in that other house, it's him plus another woman plus a 13-year-old girl. I didn't know what was going on. Was she going to school? Plus they had elderly parents over there, and I have my mom who's elderly. So we had to figure out like what was going to go on. So we made the decision that for 8 weeks they were just to stay with me. So it was all Natasha all day for 8 straight weeks, just because we didn't know what was going on with the virus. And then finally the kids broke down. The kids were like, I want to see daddy. Like, it's very, very difficult for them to understand why they can't. They knew about the virus, they knew about the mask, they knew about the hand washing. We're barely going to the grocery store. We started getting our groceries delivered, but why can't we see daddy? And then finally I was like, screw it, go. Like you have to see him, right? At some point we had to take a risk. And it was really difficult, because then if they go and see him, does that mean they can't see my mom who's in her 70s? So just weighing all of that was really, really difficult. But I will say that technology has allowed me to work from home. I am grateful for it. The hours are all crazy. Tomorrow I'll be on BT with Melanie. And I think this comes down to we're stronger than we think, because I don't know how I got through the last 7, 8 months. I don't even know how, because I'm essentially being that single mom and trying to figure out And then you're talking about having your partner there in the room while you're giving birth, right? Having that support system. Well, my significant other now lives in the States, and of course, with the border closed, there's that whole, I haven't seen my partner in months. So there's this extra, like, I don't have that support, that physical support. FaceTime can only go so far. So, you know, it's a lot. And then we still have to put on a smile when we get on TV in the morning and act like everything's good and post really fun photos on social media. And everyone's like, you have a life. And it's like, well, yes, you know, it could be worse. And I always say that things could always be worse, but it's difficult. Absolutely, 100%.
Now, you're a super mom, by the way. Like, anyone who doesn't know Natasha Ramsahide, like, she is super mom. You're amazing, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart. I love you.
Love you too. My turn? Oh,
Sure.
My mic's still on, so I'll just talk.
You go first.
You know what? COVID was really, it tested a lot for us and a lot of you guys, because I talked to all of you outside of the work environment, know that my husband travels a lot for work, right? Like, we were ships in the night. I work early morning. I'm up at 3, and he traveled sometimes half the month, sometimes 3 weeks out of the month, he'd be gone. And when he was in town, he'd, come home, say at 7 o'clock, and we had a young son, right? So it was just pass off the message. It was like tag in, tag out, right? Like it was very much that. COVID, now he works full time from home now. He's always here. Guys, he's always here. Okay, put up your hand if like maybe you just feel like you need a bit more personal space, like a little bit, right? Okay. Just me? Oh, did I say that out loud? He's not even here right now.
I didn't even know where you were going, but I had a feeling it was like,
just put your hand up, right? And your legs too. Yeah. Stretch that out. That's our yoga for the day. But you know what? So that's a positive though, because we were having dinners together. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But like what all of you were saying is that, for me, work didn't stop. I went into the station every single day. We didn't miss a single day with the pandemic, and it was weird. It was eerie. We work in downtown Toronto. You drive the streets of young Dundas.
You're taking the TTC, right?
I was
TTC, and I was like, you're on the bus.
I was taking the subway every single day, and then I started driving because no one was there. And then my husband said, well, take the car because you don't need to, I don't need it. Anyway, we were going in every single day. And to your point, Natasha, you were saying something about like the whole idea of having to put on this smile, right? The red light comes on for the camera, and all of a sudden you have to be ready. You have to be on. You can't hide behind, your paperwork, or you can't, like this, people can read right through this too. And people know when you have a bad day. They can read it. I get so many tweets and direct messages being like, are you all right? Because let's say your eyes were puffy that day. You were crying all night because something had happened. Well, at the beginning of COVID, I'm not going to get into it, but something very personal happened to someone who's pretty much family to us. And so that was already weighing on my mind. COVID happened, and it was difficult. And then going into work, and I just remember reporting every single day. You're talking about deaths, long-term care homes, losing people. And then a story hit, and it was about, in the Maritimes, there was a mass killing. I don't know if you guys remember the story in Nova Scotia. Yeah. And this was very early on, and I was fine. And then we were in a chat format of the show, and with COVID, feeling the anxiety, all of that weighing on you, other things happening in your personal life, and then hearing this story, I broke down. I broke down on air. I just started crying. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's unprofessional. I was crying on air, and I was slightly embarrassed about it. And then I just, they cut to weather or traffic. And then I came back, and everyone in my ear said, if you need a moment, take a moment. And I just said, no. I took a few deep breaths, and I came back on. I mean, my fake lashes were falling off my face, but they stayed intact enough. No, at that point, I didn't know how to use the fake lashes. Natasha hadn't taught me yet, but that's a sidebar. But I came back on air, breathed through it, and then went through the rest of the news pack. But I remember thinking, oh, man, like I feel embarrassed about that. Yes, fake lashes, real emotions. Thank you for that. The amount of support I got from coworkers, from viewers, from friends who had watched and just said, thank you. Thank you for feeling the feelings and expressing the feelings that we were all going through. this is a time when emotions were high, whether you were giving birth in a hospital, whether you were pregnant, whether you were unsure about the safety of going into work, whether or not you weren't sure of the future of your kids' education. Everyone felt on edge, and all of it just kind of just to the surface, and it all came out. And that too, the feedback on that one. And now I say, you know what? That's the point. You know, news is news, but the interesting part is there are people behind these stories that we're telling, and the people that are telling the stories too. And that's the real connection, that we are lucky and fortunate to have these connections with the viewers and the listeners, that you can feel like you know one another. And okay, wait, I was telling this to Stella and Natasha. The whole, this makeup has been on since about 4 this morning, right? Like, this is whatever I could put on. Natasha Ramsahai told me about magnetic lashes because I don't know how to put on fake lashes.
They're the best.
It's been coming off the. Here's what's happening. Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
Okay.
They still don't work well. The magnetic ones are still so difficult.
Wait, those are the magnetic ones?
Yes.
They're awesome.
They
I can't
are.
get them to work. I've like
I
poked
can't
it
do
on live with the magnetic lashes. Forget
These
it.
are the best. I'm done with these. I'm done with
You're
that.
cutting them
You know
back
what?
in the groove. Sure. I can't
You got to
do
do
that.
something with that.
Yeah.
You rip those off, girl.
I feel free. And Spanx, guys, when everyone was in their jogging pants at work, everyone's like, oh, it's so nice working at home in my jogging pants. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm wearing fake lashes and Spanx still.
I know,
I'm in
you got
jogging
a
pants right
bad
now.
deal
I'm in
there. Yeah.
jogging pants right
You had it
now.
rough.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Same.
I remember
I
I
finally got my hair done, like color done just 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't had it done since January. And for a while, it was like, oh, this ombre look, that's what I'm going for. And then after a while, I looked in the mirror on a Zoom call. I was like, this is not ombre. This is awful. This is like the very
Ombre.
opposite of a look. So I had to go.
Oh my
I was like,
gosh.
please help me. So yeah. Oh my
Yes.
God.
I got grays growing in now, and I'm trying to convince myself that those are the new partial highlights.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You know what? Who's going to the hairdresser? I got my first haircut like a week ago, and I was like, gosh, do I really need to go? And then I looked at my hair, and I'm like, holy crap, look at all these split ends.
Yeah,
Yes.
get that done.
So, Lisa, how have you been handling all this?
Well, I'll say everybody touched on a lot of what I was going to talk about. The big thing for me, the homeschooling, I can say has probably been the most difficult part for me. I found that I second guessed our decision a lot, whether or not we were doing the right thing to keep, my 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old son at home, away from his friends, away from anything social. Is him staring at a screen all day the right thing for him? I'm riddled with mom guilt every single day around that. But I am recognizing that everything is a journey and we take one day at a time. In addition to that, I will say the financial burden of COVID weighed on my head like crazy. And I'm willing to share, from a financial perspective. I know as women, we are taught a lot of times to keep our financial business. But in being in media, you become accustomed to sharing, just like you said, Mel, sharing the genuineness and your life with everybody else. So when COVID started, I was a freelance host with TSE, and I had been there for 4 years. Now, in being freelance, when you come into media, and I was fresh in media when I started 4 years ago. Girls, I'm sure you will say, you probably experienced the same thing. You're working graveyard shifts. You're working the hours that nobody else wants to work. You don't have a confirmed amount of shifts every month. Your financial income is up and down. Nothing is guaranteed. So when COVID started, everything for me stopped. Quite literally stopped. And so having a house, having a kid, having a husband that has rallied behind me for the last 4 years to try and make this media dream come true and make me, as successful in this as I had hoped for. How now do I contribute in our house? So that had me dig real deep. real deep inside. And again, start to look at things very differently. What do we need versus what do we want? What do we have that's good enough and will always be good enough? Do we need to, aim for higher and bigger and better and faster? Do I need to do that? Do I need to be in this situation, or can I find myself in other environments that maybe give me more of an opportunity? That was all kind of the stuff that was going through my head when COVID first started. But the financial burden of it all was really what had me sort of rethinking it. And I know that there's so many people across Canada that were in that exact situation. So that's really, kind of what my world looked like. But I'm happy to say that we've kind of navigated through that. And along the way, I think we've all learned so much in the lesson of COVID.
Yeah, it's true. You know what? Actually, I was on maternity leave, and I came back, and I was literally back for 2 weeks from maternity leave. The pandemic hit and everything just changed. And I went from really I was ready to go back to work and everything to all of a sudden just working out of my vehicle with a cameraman. And we're the only two people who were going to see each other. And I literally work out of my vehicle so that I don't have a crying baby in the background. But I mean, yeah, it's just like everything just changed. And some people even I don't know, it's just some people would ask me how are you doing it? You're sitting for 9 hours in your car doing Zoom calls and stuff like that. But you know what? We're all making it work, but it's just weird times for everyone. You're going through all these changes that we don't really know how to deal with. That's why there really is no playbook when it comes to any of this stuff. So thanks guys for the input on that. We do have a few comments.
I just wanted to say to Lisa, I know, super quick, just how I was saying, everybody, Lisa's biggest thing COVID was financial burden. Other people, it may be the virtual school. Other people, right? I got the virtual school down, I got the work down packed. And for me now, it's not seeing my partner 8 months, right? That's and then I was talking to Tracy, host of City on Instagram, and I said, I feel so guilty. That is what is bringing me down and making me depressed and sad right now. And there are people that cannot put food on the table. How dare I? How dare I feel sad about this right now, that I don't have that person in my life, when other people can't see their newborn baby being born. And so she said, every right, because everybody's journey is individual. So everybody has a right to feel whatever that priority, that big thing is weighing on you, is weighing on you. So it's going to be different for everybody. So she made me feel really, a lot better for that. I just want to see my man. So.
And
that's allowed. That's everyone has their own story.
Exactly. And Nat, since you're talking about that, maybe you can explain to us a little bit about what you've been through. Your journey from when you started in the media has changed significantly from being you got married and then you had children and then now you're divorced and now you're dating again. And now you're and you're also in the world of social, your life has changed significantly from when you started in media. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about this change and how you kind of deal with it on a day-to-day basis, especially being in the public eye.
Well, I think that when I had my 11 and 12, right? 12 years ago, it was right? It was when I went off on mat leave to have my daughter. I was working at the CBC at the time. Twitter started to explode. I came back from social media and this 20-year-old intern was like, I got the whole center up on Twitter, so we're doing this now. And I'm like, what? Why? I don't know what that means. And I really was very, hesitant about, I don't need to know this. Who is she? I'm the senior meteorologist here. What do you mean I'm coming back to this? No, she needs to be put in her place. But it taught me really, you've got to be open. You've got to learn, right? About things are always changing and you really have to keep up with work. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Like it or not, maybe you'll grow to like it. I love Twitter now and it's great and it's fine. But that's something, it was social coming up, right? Back 12 years ago. And then, now I started embracing it. Still married at the time. Now go through divorce. Just like Mel, crying on the air on 6 just because of internal stuff. It was a messy divorce. It was not funny. Yeah, it was without sort of saying, details. It was very difficult to go through, and then go on every 10 minutes on the ones on 80 for straight hours when you know that you've just gotten into the biggest heated argument and police might, like, it was just a hot mess. And in terms of the public eye, the public is they notice stuff. So they would notice, like they noticed when Mel was sad. They noticed you're not wearing your ring anymore. What's going on? I just noticed you're not wearing your ring. Well, who are you to ask? Don't ask. Like it's on your business, but at the same time, it kind of is, because we have a rapport with people, right? People tune into us and they feel like they know us. So initially I was kind of like, mind your business, and I just not responding. But then I kind of responded, and there's a way to go. I'm just going through some life changes, and they really appreciate when you do reach out to them. And you don't have any obligation to. I didn't have to reply to any of them. The other thing with having kids now is everything you post on social media, people, oh no, I have 10% battery. That's not good. People always want to judge, right? So if I took them to Niagara Falls during COVID and we're wearing masks, the messages that came in, it's just judgy. I can't believe you took Niagara Falls. You should be in your house, and stop judging people. Like, everyone's good for their family, their situation, whether they have, who's in their lives, what health issues they have in their families. I'll just say that. And the last thing I'll say about social media, whatever I posted back 12 years ago was really just about me post stuff about weather, my life, or what have you. But now I'm really focusing on my kids are on Instagram. So what I'm posting going to embarrass them? Is it going to bring on bullying schoolmates and criticism and people laughing at them, right? So I really do have that conversation with them, and I'll shoot it. I was gonna say I'll tape it. I'll shoot it, but then I'll show it to them and say, is this okay? Are you okay with it? And I make sure I get their, because I think that's really important, because my stuff is going out to like a lot of people. They have to be okay with it. It's their face, their name, and their persona. So that's the change. Like one change, I could go on, but I have to go get my charger while you talk to someone.
Well, I did actually just get a 10-minute cue, though. We have 10 minutes left, so we're going to power through this. I have a few more questions that I would like to ask you all. I'm going to start off with Ivanka. Ivanka, how has work life changed? I just threw her. She was like, oh, wait, okay. How has work life changed since you had a child?
I think besides being exhausted every single day and understanding that I was not tired before I had children, and my mom friends would always laugh at me for that. I think I've learned to prioritize better, and you have to be good at time management. So I think I've become better at that, and trying to let things go if it just doesn't work out or I don't have the time to do that, because there are only so many hours in a day. And so my priority is my son. When it's my time with him, I want to focus on him. And then thankfully, we are fortunate that we have a nanny. So he'll go with the nanny, and then I'll get my work done, or I love to work, so I make sure I get my workout in and exercise. And so I'm just good at prioritizing. I could always be better. I mean, I don't cook, but maybe that's one thing that I've learned to let go. And instead of spending the time doing that, then I just, pick up or get delivery. So that's changed. And I think I'm more empathetic since I've become a mom, for sure. There are things that hit me a lot harder, that maybe wouldn't have felt as much, but because I'm a mom, as a parent, I really feel for, stories that you hear, because you imagine yourself in those positions and going through it with your children. So yeah. So I think those two things have become a better time management and more empathetic.
I know you were mentioning a little bit about the anxieties that come with like your first mat leave, leaving, and leaving work and being out of the public eye. I kind of felt the exact same way, where I felt like people would forget me, and and I struggled with that a lot, like being on mat leave. Like I constantly felt that way, like the anxiety of being, because we're so used to being in front of the camera and being there and people commenting, that when you're away, you're like, people are going to forget about me. And then somebody else is going to come and like take my position or whatever it is, or like, you just have so much anxieties that come with it. And I guess a lot of people feel the same way. I'm not sure if that's sort of like what you were talking about.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you want to stay relevant. And so, even if it's like making sure you tweet every day or send a picture on Instagram or whatever, you're like, I have to stay visible. There was less of that this time around, whether it was COVID related or not. But for sure, yeah. I think I cut short my mat leave probably a few months. I did 6 months, and maybe I would have gone a little bit longer if I had been in a different industry. But I do love my job as well, so it's fun to get back to. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, we have 2 minutes left. I want to get in one last question. This one's for Lisa. So how would you describe your experience as a woman of color in this industry?
Oh, 2 minutes to answer that question.
Sorry, I know. I'm like so sorry. I'm just getting the countdown on the side chat, and I'm like,
oh my goodness.
I wanted to make sure we got that in before, so sorry.
First off, I'm going to say that I am a proud woman of color, and I feel even more proud to be a woman of color in media every single day and represent as many people as I can in my shoes. I'm going to be honest and say that in the interview process, a part of the reason why I got the job was because I was somebody that I was basically a woman of color. Okay. So when I got the job, yes, it was great. But what I will say is that you quickly realize that the stigma for people of color, right? And so that is, whether or not you have equal opportunity, are you working harder than everyone else to prove yourself? All of that came very true for me. That has always been the experience. And so I can only speak for myself in saying that, yes, I have walked that walk and I will continue to walk that walk. And I think anyone who is a woman of color on this panel today can probably agree with that. Having said that, I'll take the opportunity to say that with the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, I am hopeful and I am optimistic that we are on a road to change and on a road to further equality and, again, fair and equal opportunity for everyone. But I think that it's important to always be an ally. So if you're watching today and you're hearing what I'm saying and you have bought into being an ally yourself, look out for the people around you that might not have fair and equal opportunity for themselves. Let's just be each other's voice. So having 2 minutes, that's what I will take the time to say, is to focus not on my experience necessarily, because yes, I have had my experience. And like I said, I will always continue to have that experience. But I think it's more important to be each other's allies for people of color, women of color, everyone in between. Let's just all have an equal playing ground.
Amen, girl.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, guys, we are getting wrapped up now, but I want to say thank you so much. That was incredible. Actually, we have a comment here. Amanda Bennett says that this is the most amazing fireside chat. Thank you for being so real. So, ladies, you guys were incredible.
Thank you, guys.
I think we could have like a TV show with just us. This would be awesome.
I feel like this should just be every
hours. This is fun.
We should do this
It should
every
be
Wednesday
weekly.
afternoon. Yeah.
And Nat can bring the wine.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll say is
Oh, yeah.
I got to get out of my house today, so I'm away from my family winning.
I put on
couldn't
makeup,
help-
so that
I
was
have to
one
say,
thing.
Lisa, that Mel mentioned
my
cheerleaders at the very top, and your background looks like bleachers, and all I could think of was like cheerleaders at a basketball game the entire time. So I feel like it tied in.
I'm at the Staples studio, so they have like
There you go.
private spaces and things like that. So it's awesome. If you guys can check it out, do it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice. Full circle.
exactly. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. This was our Moms in Media panel, and with these incredible women, just take care, and we hope you have a fantastic day and enjoy the rest of this incredible festival. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.